Hey everyone, today we are continuing Unit 5 and we are going to be talking about ionic nomenclature. Nomenclature just means how we come up with the names of chemical formulas and compounds and things like that. So again, last class you learned that there's 3 types of bonds. We're going to talk more about different kinds of compounds now. So I have covalent, ionic, and we're also going to talk about acids later on in this unit. So just to refresh your memory, an ionic compound is a metal and a nonmetal. Within the ionic compounds, there could be binary, which means 2, so 2 elements, or there could be polyatomic ions that help form the ionic metal. Remember that poly means many, so many atoms to form the ions. You will be given a list of these polyatomic ions in class that you can use. You won't have to memorize them. I'll also put a picture of those on the slides for you. When we're naming ionic compounds, you use the metal ion name and then the non-metal ion name. So for the non-metal, we're going to add the letters IDE to the end of the non-metal. There is a charge in every ionic compound, even though we don't write it. It's just understood that there's a charge because it's ionic, because there's a metal and a non-metal. So this is when we're going to swap and drop charges, just like you learned last class. So let's do some examples. First, I have aluminum chloride. So I'm going to go to my periodic table and look up aluminum. Let's see here. So this is just like what we did last class. Aluminum has a charge of +3, and we're bonding that to chlorine. Chlorine has a charge of -1. So when I swap and drop, I get AlCl3. So that would be my chemical formula for aluminum chloride. The next one says MgI2. MgI2. So it gave me the formula and I need to figure out what the name is. So all you have to do is name whatever that metal is, magnesium. And then we're going to say the name of the nonmetal, which this one is iodine. But our rules say we just take the ending off and add IDE. So iodide, magnesium iodide. Aluminum sulfide. So aluminum again was +3. And then we have sulfide. So sulfide sounds a whole lot like sulfur. They just changed the ending to IDE, so I have sulfur. The charge for sulfur is -2, so when I swap and drop, I would just get Al2S3. So that would be your chemical formula for aluminum sulfide. Oh, it's gonna start me over. Okay. Right here. All right, so continuing on, other important info for naming ionic compounds. Again, you'll see polyatomic ions a lot of times on these. This is a group of atoms that function as one whole charged molecule. So if you see a polyatomic ion, you're going to need to use your list. And those elements stay together. We don't split them up, and I'll show you some examples of that in a minute. A lot of times, polyatomic ions can be written in parentheses, but not always. So again, remember how to find your charges. This should be written on your periodic table. So like group 1 would be +1, group 2 is +2, group 3 is +3, and so on. Some other important information that you need to know about this, the IUPAC, which is just the people who decide what we name what, that they say that the charge of the transition metal be indicated by the transition metal name. So I will also hand you a paper that has transition metal charges on it. So when we're writing out the actual name and it includes a transition metal in it, we have to use a Roman numeral to indicate what the charge is. So transition metals can have multiple charges, and we use a Roman numeral when we're writing the name. I'll give you some examples of that as well. So what is the name of this compound? Na3PO3. Na3PO3. So PO is going to be a polyatomic ion, and it's going to be on your list, and it should be PO3 minus 3, I believe. Let me get my list out. Okay, so you would go look at your list, and on your list, let me see. Yeah, I don't think this one's on your list, but I would add it to it whenever you get this. So this is going to be called phosphite, like that. So when we're naming this, I'm just going to say the name of my metal, which is sodium. And then all I have to do is name that polyatomic ion. So we just said it was called phosphite. If it's a polyatomic ion, we really do not need to change the ending. We can leave it exactly how it is. Next one says, why does it keep doing that to me? Let's see. The next one says, what is the name of the compound MnCl2? Okay. Let's try this again. Oh, there we go. MnCl2. So Mn, if you look at your periodic table, it's manganese. Let's see. Yeah, so it's right in the middle of those transition metals. So I'm going to say manganese. And then they already swapped and dropped the charges. That means this 2 originally came from manganese. That would tell us the charge. So remember, when we're writing transition metals, we have to put that charge in parentheses and in Roman numerals. So we'll just have a 2 Roman numerals, and then we can continue naming. So we have chlorine, but we changed the ending to IDE, so we're going to say chloride. Manganese 2 chloride. Okay, so that is it for today. You have practice problems to work on and then an exit ticket. The practice problems I can help you with